live from Matt Moscardi's 12th floor terrarium. Oh, I didn't know he put on a 12th floor. It's the only ESG adjacent game show ever made. Business Pants Thursday. Of course, I don't think we really have a game show today.
Is it a game? It's a game of life.
And you heard who we're joined by today. We are joined by Ari the Data Queen and Jesse the Money Whisperer.
Hello.
This is like a pre-Friday show Palooza party episode. In today's social media explosion called June 8th, 2023, we'll cover a few ESG headlines, and then Jessie the Money Whisperer stops by to discuss her new social media series. Yeah, she's
fun.
Laughing, but it's actually, I kind of love it, actually. We were discussing
Did you have
it.
an old social media series?
That's true. It's our first
Good
social media
question.
series here at Free Flow. We were actually discussing it in the car on the way home from our Fringe performance last night. We were all very excited.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Love that. Love the hype.
Jessie was the star. All right. Let's get to a few headlines because Ari told me yesterday that she likes to cover the news through me instead of reading it, so it made me feel good about myself for once.
Oh, please.
All right, here we go.
Let's get to the headlines.
Wildfires halt and delay flights from New York to North Carolina as smoke blankets the eastern seaboard. These are massive Canadian wildfires. They're saying the massive smoke plume choking the northeast United States is what climate change looks like. I don't have any smoke up here in Portland, Maine. Not really. It's a little hazy
that
today.
Maine air is still crisp.
I don't know what's going on. How is it for you two in Hartford?
It's pretty choking. Yep, I would agree
choking.
with
Okay.
We're
that.
not
It is in your face.
Yeah. And we can smell the smoke too. But you know what's been aggravating me is like, I was around a bunch of people for volleyball the other night, and they're like hating on Canada. I'm like, you guys,
Canada?
The topic is climate change here. Let's just get one thing straight. They're like, friggin' Canada. I'm like, no.
I mean, this is the only thing we can hate on them about.
I mean, Canada's probably saying that about us with California and Oregon. They're always having fires. Like, my goodness.
Maybe we can go more into depth about this tomorrow because there's a suggestion online that this is either the effects of climate change or the effects of poor forest fire management or both. So I haven't done the research. I'd like to dig into it a bit more and see what
if we let indigenous populations do what they do best and contain fires, but we don't do that. We don't trust them.
We're also not Canada.
Yeah.
Meta has set up a task force to counter child exploitation following a Wall Street Journal report. An investigation by the newspaper and academic researchers found Instagram promoted child sex material, highlighting the failings of big tech firms in regulating the spread of illicit content online. Here's a quote from Meta. "We are continuously exploring ways to actively defend against this behavior, and we set up an internal task force to investigate these claims and immediately address them. We're committed to continuing our work to blah, 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 to protect teens, blah, 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 blah." But here's why.
So, internal task force. We'll never know what happens here.
Yeah, here's what scares me about this. First of all, it took an investigation by the Wall Street Journal and academic research for Facebook, Instagram, Meta to figure this out in the first place. That scares me. Secondly, as we talked about a lot yesterday, Ari, this company is Mark Zuckerberg. When is it time to end these oligarchies, these dictatorships? Because to me, that's the problem. Like, you're asking Mark Zuckerberg to set up an internal task force. He doesn't really have independent oversight over anything. When is it too much? Like, when is enough enough? That's what gets me going about this.
I think there was a shareholder proposal that dealt with this.
Yeah, you're right.
They wanted a report about children specifically. I don't know if it was in child exploitation context of sexual context, but it didn't even get like a third of the shareholder vote.
Yeah, this is not the first time this issue has come up.
But yeah, internal. We're never going to know what's happening, so this does not matter.
Yeah, and this segues me to the next story, which sounds very familiar. ByteDance's former head of engineering in the U.S. is speaking out. Yintao Yu, said Communist Party members access data on U.S. users as well as protesters in Hong Kong. The access was possible due to a super user or God credential, he alleged. So he's saying that Communist Party members have a God credential, but how is this different than Facebook, right? The owners control the data. Mark Zuckerberg controls the data. The Communist Party controls the data. Blah 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 blah. Again, these things can be regulated out. The biggest providers of social media services don't have to be controlled by single entities. We can regulate this.
And this is not going to come as a surprise to anybody, right?
No.
But yeah, you're right. People don't make the connection that Mark Zuckerberg, just because you put Communist Party or China around it, this is what's happening in the U.S. with U.S. companies as well.
Yeah, I mean, we can be xenophobic, we can be racist, we can be anti-communist, whatever. All those things are nonsense. Like, it's still, there's an equivalency, and that is that there are powerful figures ahead of these things as opposed to democratically run organizations, right?
No regulations.
Right. Another story we talked about yesterday, Ari, the headline is, "That's on me. Warner Brothers Discovery CEO sends email to CNN employees taking responsibility for the Chris Licht disaster," because the CNN CEO was fired yesterday. But what does it mean when a CEO takes responsibility and he still keeps his job? What does that mean? I don't know.
With his whole pay package intact?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I don't
what I
even
want.
I don't
It's
even
not
get
very meaningful.
right? What is that gesture?
It
Ari
should
and I
be, that's on me. Everybody gets an extra week of vacation on me.
Exactly, yeah.
You buy a round for everyone.
Why not? Why not a day off? Ari and I
A whole
kind of
week.
joked.
Come on.
We joked about their succession planning yesterday, Ari, for the new CEO of CNN. We joked that there were 3 people in the interim leadership. I was wrong, or maybe they've added a 4th. There's actually 4 people now, Ari.
Oh my God.
2 of them are women. The reason why I bookmarked this story is that I think we have another glass cliff alert. I think another failed organization is going to put a woman in position to try to solve everything, and it sounds like an untenable situation.
Well, after this, all major U.S. news networks are now led or co-led by women.
And it's a difficult position to be in because cable news is failing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So good luck. Good luck reviving
cable.
CNN. Good luck.
This is a whole industry glass cliff.
Right, exactly. And
Ooh.
finally, GameStop stock is down after the company fires CEO Matthew Furlong and names its shareholder activist, they call him the meme stock activist, Ryan Cohen, as executive chair. Here's why I pointed this one out, because I was looking at our data, and Ryan Cohen, the largest shareholder, controlled 61% of the influence according to our data. The CEO, Matthew Furlong, only controlled 12% of the influence.
Whoa.
This is what happens at companies like this, right? The CEO has no power.
Bye-bye.
So it doesn't surprise me this happens. Doesn't surprise me that the stock is down because of this mess. So I just wanted to point out that you can, through our data, you can actually know who's actually controlling the board, only with our data.
So is he going to meme a lot and make the stock go up?
I don't know. That's a good question. That's all I have. Those are my headlines for the day.
Very cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's segue to our new feature here at Free Flow. Jesse, the Money Whisperer, has started a new consumer series on social media.
Yes,
First of all,
that's correct.
Welcome, Jesse.
Oh, thank you. Glad
Welcome
to be
to
here.
Thursday.
Glad to be here.
Let's start at the top. Does this series have a name?
I'm calling it the Consumer Decision Series. It's kind of hard to say, though, so I may have to
Consumer
rebrand it.
Decision Series. It's also a little
Yeah, it's
fuddy-duddy.
just, well, it's what it is. It
And
doesn't need an explanation.
Where will you be posting this series?
Okay, so it will be TikTok and Instagram to start, and eventually YouTube. I need to get it up on YouTube.
Why not LinkedIn?
but I guess LinkedIn too. I got to get it up on all. First, we're prioritizing consistency,
Okay.
and then we'll focus on dissemination on all of the channels.
So tell us what this series is. I'm actually very excited about it, mostly because, A, I love the topic. I love that you're using our data, using Ari's data. Ari's the data queen, you know. And you're genuinely excited about this.
Yeah, I am. Well,
So
yeah, and Ari's
But that's
going to
make a
love.
good series. But this is
Yeah.
your excitement is going to make this pop.
So here's the cool thing. It's been years now that I've been trying to like align consumer decisions with my values because that's important, and you know, you can vote with your dollar. So that has been important for me, but it's very challenging to find transparent data and things. I mean, there are apps out there now, and there are certain resources I've come to use when I'm like, say, trying to buy a mattress or like these bigger purchases. But what I realized recently is that, oh my gosh, my privilege is the company that I work for, and that we have data on public companies which own most of the brands and things that we're trying to buy from. So that was kind of the impetus of this, was like, oh, I'm always trying to align my decisions with values and make better decisions that I feel better about, like spending my money on. Why don't I try to and then also I'm trying to get more into the data and familiarize myself with it. So I felt this a really good exercise on like, this is a good way in for me to start really using our data in a meaningful way. And
Board sabermetrics data,
Board sabermetrics data,
And there's a fabulous example of that that we will discuss in a few minutes. Can you give me the overview of the series? I know it's a multi-part weekly series, so why don't you at least explain what you'll be doing each day?
Yeah, so we're going to try to do a video each day. So we did an intro video. You can go check that out. It kind of explains it. But day one, we're going to introduce what decision we're looking at that week. So Mondays, it's going to be like, okay, what are we looking at this week? What am I trying to buy? What's someone on the team trying to buy? And then we're going to go and we're going to go somewhere and try to find it. So we're going to go locally and try to make that consumer decision and see what our options are. So we're going to get all the options.
And you'll document that process.
Right? Yes. I will bring all of our audience along for that. And then we're going to kind of do our own research and say, okay, it seems like there's a lot of brands out there, but who actually owns these? Like, who am I actually supporting when I buy a Kleenex, for example, or I buy, you know, this brand of suntan lotion? Like, who actually owns that?
Right.
And then we'll do some research on whether I want to actually be supporting them. So then I'll look into Board sabermetrics specifically. I'll pull up the data. We'll look at the directors.
To see who runs the companies themselves. Who
runs it? What are they into? What are they up to? Are they in the headlines? All of that sort of stuff that we like to cover anyways. And then Friday, our last day, we're going to wrap it up, and I'm going to give you like a kind of like a roadmap on, yes, I'm going to support that initial product that I thought, or no, and if no, who do I feel better about supporting? What company? What brands?
So you're committing to buying something on Friday and sharing it with the audience. You're going to buy something. Unlike me, who can spend 7 weeks buying a dishwasher, you're going to buy something on Friday.
Yeah, I want to try to make it decisions. I mean, we are going to cover some bigger decisions if they're coming up, but I want to try to make it actual decisions that we're facing on a weekly basis.
Okay.
Is your dishwasher going to be part of this? Because it totally should.
Well, I guess it should be. We know what's worse is that we're going to have to buy a new car soon, and Ari's got me excited about an electric car.
That's perfect.
That's going to be way worse for me.
That's perfect. I want to cover Matt's car too, even though he's already purchased it. But I want to do a little like EV versus EV, because, you know, we have... I hate to admit it, but we have the Tesla, and he now has the Hyundai. So we're going to do that. That's spoiler alert.
I wish you had started this series before you bought the Tesla, Jesse.
I know. I wish I worked at this company before I bought the Tesla. Well, we're just leasing it, so we can redeem ourselves in 2 years.
The series sounds great because I love the hand-wringing of consumer decisions. Ari and I talk a lot back and forth about these types of things, about what to buy, why. So I love that you're doing this, Jesse. I love that you're using our data. I love that the first series are already found some interesting overlap with our data. But what are you buying this first week? What is the topic?
So it just so happened that this first week I'm buying menstrual hygiene products.
All right.
I'm at the store. I thought of this idea and then it just, coincided perfectly. So we're getting right into a very complex topic already.
Okay, give us a few highlights from your week so far.
Okay, so the reason why this decision stuck out to me as something that I wanted to spend a lot of time researching is because as a menstruating human, say we use tampons, we're going to use over 16,000 of them. And every single month, we're going to be putting products into our bodies. So to me, it's very important that I find one.
So many.
Yeah, right?
16,000.
So yeah, there's a lot of things that come up. So safety, environmentally, think about that. Certain brands are using better products and more environmentally friendly products. But yeah, safety was the big thing for me. Like if I'm putting something in my body, I try to really prioritize putting safe things in and on my body and my skin and stuff. So this seemed like a really great thing I knew I was going to spend a lot of time researching it for the purpose of the series. And I was like, what better than something that I'm going to use for most of the years of my life and I'm going to consume a lot of them. So, and I know that there's a lot of chemicals in a lot of the products out there.
And I will say another reason why it's a good first product is because there are so many brands in the stores. Well, first of all,
it is a saturated market. Yeah.
I don't want to get down the rabbit hole of it because when Jesse and I were first discussing this, I started to ask questions, and this will be another series, but I started to ask her questions. Well, why did you pick Target? Why didn't you go to CVS? Why didn't you go to Walmart? Why didn't you order at Amazon? Why didn't you go right to the local retailer? What about independent farmers? But you'll cover that in other weeks.
Yeah, we're going to have to.
But the cool thing about tampons is that they throw all these brand names at you, and it gives us an opportunity to map the brand names to the actual corporation, right? Because that's the thing that is the easiest thing for consumers to miss, is that these brands are attached to corporations, right? And sometimes there are several brands on the shelf that you think are different, but they're all controlled by the same people, right? It's the same CEO, it's the same directors. They're just selling in different directions, right?
Yep, exactly.
They just repackage it, put a different color on it, and try to sell it to you.
Yeah.
So
it's the same boardroom.
That's great.
Boardroom. Yep.
Let's go through the big three that I found.
Okay.
So when I was in Target and I was scanning everything, I took videos, pictures, and then I came back and I looked up all the brands. And what I found is that Target actually has a decent section of small business products, which we'll cover later. But 90%, I would say, 90% of the products are three main players. There's Kimberly-Clark, Procter & Gamble, and Edgewell, which is a spinoff from Energizer, weirdly enough.
Right?
Batteries and menstrual hygiene, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so you have like your Tampax.
You insert batteries, I guess.
I guess in method there's some overlap there.
Kind of the same shape.
Sure, right? I mean, I wasn't going to say, but yeah.
I guess. So yeah, we have like some of the big brands, like Kotex is Kimberly-Clark, and then we have Playtex, and This Is L, which we'll cover in detail, are Procter & Gamble, and then you have Tampax, Stay Free, Carefree are the Edgewell products.
So even there, you think that there's a large variety, but really it's three entities controlling most of the brands,
and they all have like Tampax will have 5 different types of tampons or pads, and then Kotex has like 6 or 7 in their family of stuff. So it really looks, I mean, if you look at the videos that I posted, those aisles are jam-packed with stuff. I mean,
it's crazy.
It's 2 aisles. So if you walk down the aisle, both sides of the aisle are all products. And
it's overwhelming.
All sorts of different things. So it really does look like you have a lot of choice, a lot of options, and then therefore a lot of agency.
Brand choice, but you don't have corporation choice.
Well, you think you do. Well, and that's what was most interesting. And then another small tidbit is that once you look up who's the major shareholders of those 3 main players, you're realizing that it's all owned by BlackRock, State Street. It's your big your big
Well,
owners.
I mean, they ostensibly own everything anyway, so that's not a
Right,
surprise.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So why don't you tell us what you honed in on and why? You were talking about how safety was the most important factor
Yeah.
to you.
So just for the purposes of like keeping the series short and digestible for social media, I focused on one main value, and so I
Right.
picked safety. Like above all, this is something that's going in my body, so I'm gonna pick safety. So I
Yeah, and I'll say-
expand.
Well, hold on. I was going to say
Mhm.
that, and this is why another reason why ESG data is not political, not woke. It's not anything really, because that might be your value point. You know, my value point might be diversity and leadership, or my value
Or
point
environment,
might be environment. Might be just, is it a good company with a great share price? I don't know. I mean, maybe I invest in who knows? Who cares? I mean, but there's all kinds of different value points here. So yours was safety. So yeah, go ahead.
Yep. So yeah, I honed it on safety. So what I did is there were obviously a couple brands, small business brands that I knew of, but I focused on these bigger brands and to see if there's any in there that would kind of pass my inspection or that I would grab off the shelf and think, oh, this could be good for me. So what I found was there was a brand called This Is L, and they advertised 100% organic cotton tampons with BPA-free applicators. So I put a little
Okay.
picture up in social media of me holding the little box of tampons, and
Just to prove that you're alive and that you exist.
nicely branded to prove what they're advertising really, and what
Yeah.
I saw and what kind of drew me into it. So I was like, okay, cool. I know organic cotton's important because cotton's very heavily sprayed in the US. So that was like a big selling point. And then, you know, the plastic is around the cotton. So BPA free, pretty good. So I felt decent. Like I could have, had I not been doing the series, I could have picked that up and left the store with it. It was a great price point comparatively to some of the other small business brands that I already kind of
Right.
knew
So what
are,
was the
are good for
stumbling
me.
block?
Well, I knew it was a big company, so I knew it was owned by Procter & Gamble. So I was like,
Okay.
I just don't know. Like I am going to go back to work, do our due diligence, which I was going to do anyways for the series, and see if I still felt good going back.
Yeah, use
and
our
picking it
data,
up.
Jesse. Come on,
Yeah.
use our data. Yeah.
Oh, that's what I meant. I was going to go immediately
Board
open our
Sabermetrics.
Board Sabermetrics template that Ari, the data queen, has beautifully made for us, and it's very digestible. So even a non-analyst such as myself can open it
Well,
and use it.
Soon, it'll be even better because it'll be on a
Totally.
platform. It'll be for retail
Totally.
investors, for institutional investors. Yeah.
Yeah, and once the platform's up, I'm going to include that in the series
Sure.
too. Like I'm going to go on and show the audience how I'm finding it in
So
the
what did you
platform.
find about Procter and Gamble that stood out to you?
So I opened our data and I opened the template. I chose Procter and Gamble, and I was looking at both the directors and the company. So I was looking at director metrics mixed with company metrics, and I scrolled all the way down to like our metrics, which are like overall win rate, TSR, EBITDA, carbon intensity, and controversies. And so I noticed that all of the directors were below average with their overall win rate. However, their EBITDA and TSR, like their financial metrics, were great. They were above average. And I'm like, okay, what is bringing them down? And then you go to controversy and you see that they are just deplorable. Like they must be in the news all the time because
Right.
they have 0.0567 whatever controversy rates. So that was like a red alarm for me. So maybe I'll let Ari talk about the data a little, and I'll explain.
Tell us about that controversies batting average, Ari.
They are so bad, Damien. As a board, as a whole, they're only batting 133, and this is
That's
like out of
the
1,000.
average. Yeah, and I'm quickly looking at Kimberly Clark just for comparison. They're at 382, so
Yeah,
that is
better.
that even worse than that is Procter and Gamble. Yeah.
So Procter & Gamble is consumer staples, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you look at just large and mega cap consumer staples companies, of which we have 122 of them,
Mm-hmm.
they average their batting average is a 539 collectively.
Oh,
Procter
really? It's
and
that
Gamble,
high? Okay.
It's that high. And we're talking like the Walmarts of the world, Costco, Coke, Nestle, Kroger, like all these
Wow.
companies
I would think it was much more.
are
Okay.
are in this group of 122.
Right.
And they are just so abysmal compared to their peers. Like, what are they doing that is that much worse than everybody else, right? Because all
Right.
these other companies are also on the headlines a whole bunch of times.
Answer that question, Jesse. Now that we know what's going on at Procter & Gamble, what are they doing that is so bad? Like, do these things involve safety?
Yes. So what I found, once I found out that there's something going on, there's something in the water there, I did some, really journalistic Googling, and I Googled
Journalistic Googling. That might be
really it's very
oxymoron.
advanced. I Googled
Yeah.
are
Did you-
this is
yeah.
L tampons
Mhm.
really non-toxic?
Okay.
And within the
Did you
first,
ask? I wish you had asked Jeeves.
I should have
Yeah.
asked Jeeves for this.
Jeeves
But I
lives
went to
with Jesse.
Google. There's another thing I can we could have as a topic. Ask Jeeves versus Google. But yeah, I went, and within the first, I want to say first like 5 or 8 results, there were 2 lawsuits that came up. There was one
Okay.
class action, one civil against Procter and Gamble, which is obviously the owner of This Is L, saying that when you flip over that it's in like an oval box, but when you flip it over and look at the ingredient list, there's very small subtext that lists other ingredients that are not organic.
Oh.
So I don't know how they're able, there must be some sort of regulation where if it's below a certain percentage, they're still able to put
Okay.
100% organic. But the fact is that they're not 100% organic. So both of these
Oh my
lawsuits,
God.
Wow.
are addressing
See
that.
how amazing that is? I mean, just because you went to our data and smelled a rat with the controversy scores led you directly to this information. That's incredible.
Correct.
I find that
Correct.
incredible.
And
can I just say why?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, once I saw that, I was like, I already kind of had the red alarm, but I was like, yeah, I can't support these. So that made it very, very easy for me to make that decision.
Okay. So we'll find I hope people tune into Jesse's web search because we'll find out tomorrow what you ultimately do buy. Is that right? So
Well,
I'm guessing it's
yeah.
not the Procter & Gamble product. Is that it?
It's not the Procter and
Okay.
Gamble, and luckily Target did have some options, but I am going to also list out, like I did a bunch of research
Okay.
on some small businesses with different sort of emphasis, and whether you want like a women-owned, black-owned, eco-friendly. So I'll have a couple options for different
Okay.
tags, if you will.
As a
And-
consumer,
yeah.
I did not realize that I could read 100% organic and not get 100% organic.
And
I
not
didn't
have to
either.
still flip over the, I mean, it
Well,
just
that's why
goes
they're
to
being
show.
sued, though, right? I mean, yeah.
It is, but there's also so yeah, we're going to go into like, I do want to touch on who we can be mad at here, but
Go ahead.
there is
Go ahead.
there's a couple parties, right? Like there's
Okay.
obviously people in Procter and Gamble that we can get mad at, and I will list them, but there's also
Who?
like the FDA.
Come on, give me a tease. Come on, tell me somebody.
Okay. So we have
We put
You
the
know,
who into
initially
everything.
okay, initially I was like, there's got to be all men on this board, because typically you hear like, okay, there's men making decisions about women's health, and I'm like, okay, there's got to be all men on
that
this
was your
Procter and
assumption.
Gamble.
Uh-huh.
That was my assumption, and then I opened when I was going through our data. There's actually quite a few influential women that sit on the Procter and Gamble board,
Okay.
and let me get their names up.
Well, I do know the man, the CEO is a man, right, Ari?
The CEO is a man, yeah.
Yeah.
So I saw, looking at our data, I saw that there was a handful of women that had decent amount of influence. And then I wanted to take it a step further and look up the actual committee that is
Okay.
supposed to be protecting consumers, their
Sure.
their health. So I found that there's a committee called P&G Governance and Public Responsibility Committee.
Right.
So out of 7 people, 5 of them are women. There's only 2 men on that committee. And here are the the 3 women with the top influence. You have Angela Braley, 13% influence.
Mm-hmm.
Deborah Lee, 11% influence. Patricia Wertz, 10% influence.
You
So,
know,
but
that's pretty influential women right there.
Yeah,
it is, considering they have a big
relatively
board.
speaking, yes. But I'll tell you that there's clearly a bit of a shit show going on at this company because as of last August, their last proxy statement, that committee only had 4 members.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's 7 members on the committee, and most corporate governance research will tell you that is way too many members.
Right.
It doesn't even represent a subset of the board really anymore. It just represents, they're just clearly throwing a bunch of people at something. They're not necessarily experts in this area.
Well,
but
Ari and I looked that up because when Ari and I realized that we all realized that they were added just this April, we were like, well, can they help with this controversy problem?
Sure.
No. Sheila was like head of the World Wildlife Fund, or VP there. And then
she's the chair, right? Is she the chair, Sheila Bonini?
No.
Okay.
She was just added.
Just added. Okay.
I'm guessing she doesn't have like a ton of influence, but then Robert was a former senator. So none of,
Right.
I mean, not great with controversy, I'm sure.
Well, but what he might be good at is changing the regulations to let Procter & Gamble get away with more crap,
Oh,
right?
God.
I don't know. But this, again,
that's
these are like,
depressing.
this is interesting stuff because, again, when you start to look at the who behind things, you do start to see these stories develop, right?
Yeah. I mean, I just have so many more questions now, and unfortunately, a lot more distrust. But that's why I think this series is so important because hopefully we'll cover a lot of everyday decisions.
And here's why it makes our data extra cool, and I thank Ari for that. Because Procter & Gamble actually has a kind of a strange proxy reporting schedule. Most companies release their proxies in March, April, and then they have meetings around now or May. Procter & Gamble is actually due to release their next proxy in August, which means their meeting will be coming up in the fall, which means, Jesse, if you were an investor in Procter & Gamble, you would actually be able to exercise your anger against this committee. You could look at our data, figure out who has the most influence that you want to target. I mean, now would be the moment for you, as an activist to kind of, to vote your shares, vote your mind here,
Yeah, that's amazing. That's so awesome. So I mean, when I got angry and all fired up, I was like, who do I direct this at? That's what working here has taught me. I'm like, I need to find some names that I can direct this at.
Well, it sounds like it's the shit show at the
And little did you know that it was going to be so many names because they just stuck everybody on this committee.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
It's a strange situation.
Doesn't seem like they're actually doing what they're assigned to be doing.
Thank you, Jesse. It sounds like we will hear tomorrow what you actually do end up buying. You can fill us in on the Friday show. We'll all be back tomorrow for the Friday show. Is there anything else that either one of you wanted to add to this?
I am also mad at the pay committee. I mean, this whole thing's going down, and the CEO, John Moeller, he started in 2021. He made $42 million in realized pay.
He's already making that.
Wow.
Right. And like the average, again, for this sector, for this size, is 11 million. Like he is fifth. He ranks fifth. Come on.
I'll tell you where these boards can be confusing because you're right to point out, Jesse, that there are a lot of women on the board with influence. But again, the main roles, John Mueller, Ari, he is the CEO and the chair, and then the lead independent director is also a man. The company clearly doesn't have the confidence to put women into actual power positions.
Boo. That's
all right,
all
thanks,
I had.
Ari. Anything else from you, Jesse? Tell them again where they can access all this.
So right now you'll find it TikTok and Instagram. We're at Free Float Media or we're at Business Pants on TikTok and at Free Float Media on Instagram. But I will work on getting it up on LinkedIn as well, and maybe we could start a thread. We're also I'm gonna be recapping it in a blog too.
Yes. Yeah, because there's a lot of research that goes behind this. There's a lot of data. So we're gonna push that out onto our website too, right? Through a blog, right? Exactly.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of different medias depending on if you're visual or you like to read, whatever. You can.
All right, cool. This is a great first kind of retail use case for the board sabermetrics data, so it's nice, exciting.
And if you have requests of
that's true
of things or topics or products you want me to look at.
Candy bars.
Email us, inquiries at Free Flow. It'll come to me. Yeah, candy bars. Chocolate is a big one.
Chocolate's a big one. I want to know about
a lot of heavy metals and dark chocolate. Tea. We could go into tea. Oh my God, there's just so much.
I want to know about my beloved Kit Kat bar, because that's really the only candy bar I really love.
And you know what I'm going to cover? I got to buy Ari a baby gift for her.
Oh no. That's
for her shower.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, you better believe I want to get her baby something good and safe and clean.
Here, I know how to get her baby something good. It's called never buy anything new for her baby. It is this... I'm sorry, but it's the stupidest thing you could ever do.
Should I go shop in my sister? Should I go shop in my sister's basement? And
absolutely.
Not wrap it, because Ari is doing a non-wrapping shower, which is
too, of course.
Best.
I encourage used gifting, just so you know.
Yeah, she does.
Of course.
She does.
Thank you, Ari and Jesse. Thanks. I will see both of you tomorrow.
Yeah, see you on the Friday show.
Friday show. Woo. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.